So, who is Mark Ryden? I mean, yes, it's pronounced Ryden. Well, he is a contemporary artist, particularly an American painter who is associated with pop surrealism or the lowbrow art. And he was born in Medford, Oregon on January 20th in 1963, and he currently lives and works in Los Angeles, California. And and as I said, he is a American painter associated with pop surrealism and the lowbrow art, and that's a blend of classic painting technique with pop culture, childhood imagery, and dark surreal elements.
Mark Ryden explores many big ideas and has many intentions with his artwork. He questions the American consumer culture, he explores childhood identity, and he also uses symbolism and mystery in his pieces a lot. When critiquing American consumer culture, he uses images like meat, toys, vintage photos, and whatnot, all commenting on materialism and mass production. Exploring childhood, he uses wide-eyed figures representing innocence and vulnerability as well as psychological complexity in his pieces. And Ryden also uses symbolism and mystery to leave meaning open-ended and encourage viewers to interpret his symbols in a personal way.
Now, with Mark Ryden, yes, he is part of the pop surrealism, but one can also say that his work can be described as creepy and unsettling. He does a lot of signature pieces with meat and even using doll-faced figures, actually, because three of his signature pieces are these. One is known as the Butcher Bunny, which is basically a doll's face figure inside a meat shop where the butcher just happens to be a bunny, where there's a lot of meat in it. And another one is an interesting one called the incarnation of a doll figure that's wearing a meat style dress, and that's literal, an actual meat dress. And both are oil on panels actually, and the third one is also oil on panel, but that's not meat related. It's actually more called Pink Pop Barbie number 169, which is more associated with his style of dolls.
As far as Ryden's styles and techniques go, the subject matter is very surreal and unsettling. He mainly uses oil paint on canvas. He focuses on making extremely detailed pieces that fall into the Renaissance style technique. He uses glazing techniques similar to old masters, using soft luminous skin tones, and he has very precise rendering, all adding to the imagery and style of his paintings.
So after all his pieces, basically Mark Ryden has some sub-themes that really go with his style because he likes to do innocence versus corruption, where he likes to juxtapose the sweet with the violence. And you can see that through the Butcher Bunny. And from what you saw with his use of meat, corporate symbols, and some of them had Abraham Lincoln, he likes to combine consumerism and capitalism. And he also is interested in religion plus mysticism, where he uses sacred heart imagery and likes to use symbolic eyes. And you saw from the doll figures that he loves to go for femininity and gender with the feminism.
Mark Ryden had many influences. He was influenced by classic Renaissance art and the detailed realism and soft lighting, as well as religious imagery. He was influenced by American pop culture, which is kind of where his toys and vintage ads, as well as meat imagery, comes from. He is influenced by children's book image or illustration as well, as he explores wide-eyed figures and a lot of fairy tale elements within his pieces. And then he's also heavily influenced by surrealism and artists like Salvador Dali, who created these dreamlike scenes with symbolic meaning, which we can clearly see represented in Mark Ryden's pieces.
Like I said, Ryden grew up basically a part of the Los Angeles lowbrow art movement. He grew up within the 1970s to the 1980s, which was part of the American consumer culture. So he was influenced by advertising, cartoons, religious imagery, and of course, mass production. So it was part of the postmodern era where it was blurring high versus low culture with irony and nostalgia. Basically, he was a critic of capitalism. And with his style, his subject matter is surreal and unsettling. He likes to go for a lot of oil paintings on canvas where he's extremely detailed and rather Renaissance style, of course. And he likes glazing techniques similar to old masters. He goes for soft skin tones and he likes the precise rendering. That's all his styles, given how the way he grew up and was influenced.